on, you guys? Indead right here. Just want to make a new video for y'all. So basically, I just made the upgrade. Boom. So basically, what this was all about was GameStop is currently doing a promotion now, and through starting, it was like the middle of August through like the first couple weeks in September or something. Don't quote me on that. I'm simply going off the top of my head. Anyway, they were doing a thing where if you trade in your 3DS towards a DS XL, you were guaranteed $100 in trade-in credit. So I said, well, I've been looking up stuff about the 3DS XL, and it has all the features I want: better battery life, larger size, much bigger screens. The screens are advertised as being 90% larger screens than the original. Here's their hand-drawn little example of it. These screens are massive. These screens are phenomenal. So yeah, I'm all into that, my man. So anyway, go ahead and take a look at these units. Actually, when I took them to GameStop, here was the catch: was I wanted to make sure that I would transfer over my data to the newer unit. Sure, you can take out the SD card, and these original 3DSs came with a 2 gigabyte SD card. The new models actually now come with a 4 gig SD card, so that will be a easy upgrade for anyone. I don't know how easy it is to move that data over. We will find that out when we do this data transfer. But the actual important thing is, in this case, and the actual the 3DS thankfully comes with a little bit of a preloaded battery in it. So anyway, we're going to look at these two units together now, make a direct comparison between them, and we'll see what was going on, man. So here we go. So the first unit, we've got my original 3DS. This is the black model. I bought this one after they had done the price drop. Easily my favorite 3DS game so far is Mario Kart 7. So anyway, here you can see the actual screen sizes. You got the standard button arrangement here. These sort of like, they're not touch pads, but they're like recessed buttons within a separate covering here. They're not the most comfortable buttons, and honestly, when you press them, you kind of feel like you're breaking it. And I was never a fan of these start and select buttons. I much preferred the start and select button over here on the original. Well, maybe not on the original, because excuse me, but on the DS Lite, for example, they had the start and select buttons over here, which they've now put the power button over here and removed that from the side switch. I was never a fan of these start and select buttons. Every time I pressed them, I felt like I was breaking them, and I wasn't a fan of this home button either. It's used more than anything else, but the actual button itself is, I just feel like I'm going to break it when I use it. Anyway, you've got the actual screens. Here I've got the brightness maxed out. You can take it up another notch higher if you've actually got a power cable plugged into it, sorry. But anyway, we're just going to go through this real quick and see what this is all about. So here's the direct comparison between the two units. I'm going to actually line up the crossbars here. This will show you where the back of the unit is. So if I actually lay these over one another, you'll see that's how much more real estate you get on the XL. All that much more. And if you were to line them as so, it is really no thicker, and honestly may even be thinner than the traditional 3DS. They're no thicker, and it does have a flat top than this sort of curved top here. So if you're someone who's worried about the actual height of the device, that seems to remain unchanged. Also here, as we'll see now, it's got these much larger shoulder buttons. These shoulder buttons are basically sort of like some nubs here just simply on the top of the unit. The L and R buttons. Also the camera activation buttons on the main menu. Here on the actual 3DS XL, we've seen this switch over to the more traditional style buttons, where they actually have a sort of like, I can even put my hand on the back here and push the button in from the back side of it. So these are much larger shoulder buttons here, as you can see. Cameras seem to have pretty much the same exact spacing in them. That is the exact same spacing. That was written into the actual software design of it, so those cameras would be in the same position. And if we look at the inside camera, oh man, this is going to be great. You have to see these screens next to one another. Boom. Look at that, my man. And with this Mario on screen in Mario Kart, this little title trailer, oh, It is just so large. This is a fantastic screen. This screen in particular is only slightly smaller than the Vita. And when I look at it, it seems much larger than the Vita, I guess because it's just on a separate sort of its own existent screen. I mean, I guess if you literally erase that, you can see the comparison there that, yeah, that's probably about the size of a Vita screen. In fact, while we're on the subject. So, here we see a great example of how to compare this. Here's the original, or the revised version of the Game Boy Advance SP compared to the 3DS screens here. The bottom DS screen and this one seem to be rather similar. You can see here from the Game Boy Advance to this one. The 3DS screen does use a much larger screen. It is a very comfortable screen. These screens in general are bigger than the original DS screens and the DS Lite screens. Here we see a comparison here with the PSP, excuse me. And there's those two screens side by side. PSP screen is still noticeably larger than the 3DS screen. Bottom screen there. You can see the comparison here between these two. Here we have the PSP standing next to the Vita. Here's that screen comparison here. Honestly, not much larger. Vita is so impressive though. But here we have the real mark they're shooting for right now, because these are the handhelds that are currently competing. We've got the 3DS screen here with the PS Vita screen. We may need to get an actual measurement in here because this thing, oh, comparatively this thing is massive. This screen here is just over 4.5 inches. About, yeah. There's the mark there. So this would be the 7, this would be the 5-inch mark over here. Screen is just under about 5 inches. Not too shabby. And we look here on the Vita screen, which I do believe I've read is still larger. Yes, the Vita screen does come in slightly larger size than that of the 3DS top screen. Very, very close comparison here. We're talking, you know, an 1/8 or a 1/4 of an inch in size. Honestly, this is extremely comfortable viewing space. It's just gorgeous, gorgeous viewing space compared to the dwarf that is this. Additionally, in the case of this unit, they haven't actually adjusted the resolution. This is the same number of pixels, still has the same output, same number of pixels. They're simply having it display on a larger screen. So honestly, you will see a much sharper image here on the original 3DS than you will here on the 3DS XL, but this is providing a much more comfortable viewing area than this unit does. Again, nearly twice the size of the original unit. So if we measure that unit again, the 3DS comes in at just 3.5 inches at most. 3.5 inches versus nearly 3.5 inches versus 4.5, over 4.5. It's a pretty substantial increase. So, anyway, moving on to the next part here is Dinosaur Office. Next, we're going to be taking a direct look at the data transfer feature. This was one of the nails in the coffin, and I'd like to mention this real quick for anyone planning to do this. Actually, when I went to do this trade-in at GameStop, I was going to trade up my DS, my 3DS, in order to get this newer 3DS XL, which they're currently at this time, maybe not the time you're watching this, at this time they're offering a $100 trade-in credit guaranteed that if you bring in a working 3DS and all the stuff they require, they will get you the 3DS XL for, man, this has a much nicer screen look. Oh, I love it. This is a very blue screen. I've noticed that when these early models of these games come out, they have a more blue screen than their revised counterparts. Blue is sort of the pain in the butt amongst these. Alright. Double check. No, power saving mode's off, so it just has a naturally more color rich screen than that of our competing original 3DS. Needlessly to say, there's no reason why you shouldn't buy this one. everything the 3DS does, the 3DS XL does. It's not like, you know, when you went to a DS Lite or a DSi where they ripped out features that were in the DS Lite. These are the same exact models, and they do the exact same thing. This is simply a larger screen, and far more comfortable, in my opinion. As you can see here, I don't have any power saving. See, we can see here with the screen brightness, this is maxed out, 5 screen brightness, power saving mode is off, and it still has a very blue look to it. When we compare that over here to this direct unit next to it, you can see the hue difference there. I mean, it's a much, that lacks that sort of blue look that the Nintendo 3DS has. My camera might not quite be grasping it, but I'm really noticing a much more much whiter image over here than this very rich blue image. I really like this comparison. So this is a step in the right direction for the 3DS. So something about just the way the actual, because in the case of this unit, they haven't increased the, in the case of this unit,